Hey guys, we're the Rage here. Hope you're having a fantastic day, and welcome to a video I've been meaning to make for a while. This is going to be a gameplay commentary about RNG. What is RNG? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it acceptable in any circumstance, or should it be avoided like the friggin' plague? Today we're going to talk about RNG and try and break it down, and you're going to get my opinion on it. I'm going to throw some information, some factual information out there for you guys. Sort of just basically the definition of RNG, and then the rest will just be speculation in my opinion. But if you guys have a different opinion, then obviously leave it in the comments below. At the end of the video, please do watch the whole video and get a feel for what I'm talking about. So, RNG, the moniker RNG, what does that stand for? Well, it stands for something known as a random number generator. A random number generator is the generation of a sequence of numbers or symbols that cannot be reasonably predicted better than by a random chance, usually through a random number generator. So this is the actual definition of what it is. So what does all those fancy words mean? What does that big old two-sentence explanation mean? Well, it means that a computer takes a chance, basically. A computer rolls digital dice in a way to see what it lands on. And depending on what it lands on, it then sends out, does the normal computations and sends out data based on the analysis of the number that was generated. So, for instance, if I had 5 different items, 5 different rarities, let's say, and you have numbers 1 through 10, the first 2 are common items, and they fall between numbers 1 and 4. The next 2 are rare items, which fall between 5 and 8. And then there's the super rare item that falls between 9 and 10 only. So, in this instance, if the computer rolled the dice and found that the numbers added up to be a 9, you would then be rewarded with the rare item of the set. If it rolled anything that was a 1 to 4, you would be rewarded with the common, and then the rare, and so on. So, I think you guys get the idea of what RNG is. The one problem with RNG is it can be misused. Now, when I talk about it being misused, I have no doubt that in your mind that you probably think of supply drops from Call of Duty, and there are other instances that it can be abused, but it really doesn't. Paladins and Paragon, for instance, are 2 games that do have RNG elements to them, but those are both free-to-play games. So they don't really count for this because you're not already paying for it, so they have to make their money somehow. So those are kind of acceptable. We'll talk about that later. Right now, let's talk about RNG and how it should and should not be used. How it should be used is for aesthetics and cosmetics only, period. And if you disagree, you can disagree. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying you might want to rethink your position, because if you put something in a random number generator, right? If you put it in a supply drop, in a loot box, in a battle pack, in a chest of some kind, whatever you want to call this random number generator system that you have, and this item that you put in it can change the way the game is played, and you can only receive this item through that loot box, through that supply drop. Well, then you run into the problem of people going out and buying all this crap with no guarantee of getting the item, right? So it is gambling, straight up. And then, if they do get the item could be better or worse than the current items in the game. Now, if they're better or worse really doesn't matter, except in one instance, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But if it's better, then it really does matter. But if it's worse, it doesn't matter. It's kind of a double-edged sword here. You can have items that are put into the game and that people want to get because they're fun, but they might not necessarily be good or of any quality. So you could have a weapon by default that everybody gets that receives nothing, like that is fine, and everybody's fine with, everybody uses anyway. Then you add a weapon through a supply drop, only to have that weapon be worse than every other weapon in the game. And it is not as efficient as the other weapons that are currently in the game and available to everyone, regardless of the RNG system or how many boxes they've opened. There is, however, one instance that has caused everybody to look at RNG like it's a terrible thing, and rightfully so. There was in Advanced Warfare this system of variants, and these variants could only be obtained from the supply drops in the game. And this was the introduction of supply drops into Call of Duty, and this has been pretty much a controversial thing for the past 3 years of COD, saying, okay, so what is this, and what the fuck? Why are you putting this in the game? So the variants would drastically change how a certain weapon was used. So for the BAL, there was something called the Obsidian Steed, which was dealing way more damage and thus giving you a better time to kill, thus giving you an advantage in pretty much every gunfight. So it is a foreseen advantage. Seeing this and looking at it and going, okay, well, that gives him an advantage. That's kind of unfair. Seems how he just randomly gets this gun, not rewarded through skill or leveling or anything else. That is one instance where the system has been abused, and the system is maybe not so much abused, but the ignorance of the developers really showed by putting something like that in the game. So the question is, would RNG be acceptable? And the answer is yes, only for aesthetics and cosmetics, as I stated earlier. If it's aesthetic or cosmetic, if it changes the appearance of something without actually changing statistical numbers, data, or interaction with the game world other than the visual aspect, then it's fine. There's really nothing wrong there. It's just a system. And if people want to put money into that system, I call you a little bit stupid, but it's your money. You can do what you want with it. That's fine. Now, if it does something like Advanced Warfare did, and puts variants in the game, or puts new weapons in the game, and locks them behind a paywall, to where it's like, okay, well, you can pay us, but we may or may not be giving you this item. Rather than just saying, okay, the new item's here, why don't you guys just buy it for like $1? Easy. That would actually be more acceptable to me. But paying for guns is another issue. So, with RNG, there are certain things that are acceptable. Like we said, aesthetics, cosmetics, and things that are not acceptable. Game changers. Now, we get to the issue of what if that which changes the game is only accessible through said drop, but this is for a free-to-play game. So we're going back to Paladins and Paragon. In Paragon, you have a library, right? You have to build a deck out of cards that you level up throughout the match. Now, in order to obtain these cards, you can build them outright. So you can just take material and craft these cards. But that takes a long-ass time. It's much easier to buy a pack of cards or buy the in-game currency to then purchase said pack and then open that pack and get, what you want, or hopefully something that will aid you. Now, in this case, the cards themselves are not really that important. It's more of how you use the cards, not what cards you have. A similar thing happens in Paladins. In Paladins, you are given, I believe it is, I've been playing the shit out of Paladins, I can't remember right now. But in Paladins, you have, I think, like 5 different cards that passively affect your gameplay. But these cards are, again, built by you, and putting points in them to make them better is not a part of the game. They just passively kind of sit there, and you do that before the match. You set up this thing before the match, and it kind of is just there. It doesn't change the game that much, but it's still there, and it's still, again, only obtainable through said drop. Now, these are both free-to-play games, however, so you cannot fault these games for selling their supply drops. You can, however, fault games such as Call of Duty and Battlefield for selling their drops. Why do you say that? Well, why not include Overwatch? Why not include Titanfall 2? Well, Titanfall 2, while it does have an RNG system, if you can call it that, the Advocate Gift system, which gives you one item, which is cosmetic only, and does not affect the gameplay, that's out of here. We're not talking about that. And then Overwatch, the reason I don't include it is because their DLC is free. So they have to make up for that loss of income somehow. They don't have a season pass. All DLC, all content, all new content of the game will be 100% free and 100% fair to everybody. Not like everybody's going to get it right away, but if it's a new skin, then obviously it'll be in a box, and you'll have to get it like a normal skin. But these boxes, again, are earned at a fairly alright rate by just playing the game, and if you want to buy it, it again only affects cosmetics, so therefore that's completely out of the equation. Now, we're going to talk about COD and Battlefield here, and the reason in this aspect, Battlefield is better than COD, but worse than the other games. Because in Call of Duty, they have the supply drop system. These supply drops reward you with variants, right? With Infinity Ward, they went ahead and did variants again, which was a stupid idea. And some of these variants can drastically change the game. And then you have Battlefield, who didn't do that. There's no variants. It's all skins and camos and cosmetic. However, both games have a season pass. Both games have paid DLC, which is one major issue I find with RNG. I showed the examples of Paladins and Paragon, where they were free to play, so I didn't mind them selling the drops. Then you go to Overwatch, and it's like, well, I wouldn't buy the drops myself, but if somebody else wants to buy them, they're only aesthetic, and the game has free DLC, so I guess that's fair enough to let them have that income. Then you go to Call of Duty and Battlefield. These are AAA titles that sell for $60, then sell the season passes for $50, or sell the packs by themselves, not the packs, but the map packs. They sell the map packs for $15 a piece. So if you don't buy the season pass and you want to get all the maps, then you're wasting $10. So basically, you have to pay $110 for the game. So you pay $60 for the game, then $50 for all future content of the game, good or bad, whatever. And not to mention in Battlefield, there are certain weapons which are only obtainable through the RNG, or not through the RNG system, but through the season pass. They're not even RNG. So you're literally buying guns. You're buying something that may or may not be more effective than the guns currently in the game. And if they are more effective, we've been over this already, so go back and review that part. But the thing here is that Battlefield is better than COD in this aspect because they sell only drops that have cosmetics in them. Now, what I'm going to say is they still don't get off the hook because they're a $60 title with paid DLC still selling drops. That is wrong. That is bullshit. And when you're talking about RNG, you need to consider, is the game free? Does the game have free DLC? Is there in some way a reason for this RNG system to be in the game, or is it simply there to make them money on top of their already exuberant amount of profit? Because it's Battlefield, it's COD, these titles sell every friggin' year, okay? You are not going to get a year without a COD, you're not going to get a year without a Battlefield. I mean, look what they did to Battlefront. Battlefront sold for $60, had way less content, and they didn't have an RNG system, thank God. But the stupidity of selling that game for $60 when it didn't even have enough content. I mean, that's a whole other video, though. We're not talking about that. But that's my whole idea on RNG, guys, and that's about all I have to say, is that, as a little recap, if your game is free to play, feel free to put RNG in the game for if it doesn't affect the game that much, which Paragons and Paladins has been very good about keeping their RNG from affecting the game immensely. Then you have Overwatch, so you can go ahead and do RNG cosmetically all you want in a game, as long as that game doesn't have paid DLC. But if your game has paid DLC, I'm expecting no RNG. And if there is RNG, I'm going to look at your game like it's a piece of shit. Anyway, that is it. That was my thoughts on RNG. I just had to get that off my chest. I've been having those thoughts roll around my brain for like 2 weeks, and I've finally sat down to record this. But that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, then do the usual. Like, subscribe, check out my streams. Comment down below what you think about this topic. And is there anything I missed? Is there anything you'd want me to go over again? Or is there some angle this I just haven't seen? Let me know in the comments below. And I will see you guys in the next video. Reap the Rager, signing off.